Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ruby AI podcast. I am one of your hosts today, Valentino Stoll, and I'm joined by Joe.
I'm Joe. I'm the other guy. I'm just stepping over Valentino's lines now. Nice to meet you all. It is a heat wave here in New York, and I think it is really just here to train us New Yorkers that are going to RubyConf to deal with the heat, because it's going to be like 125 degrees in Vegas in a couple of weeks. I don't even know if I'm going to leave the hotel.
I think they just hose you down with like slushies, right?
Yeah, that would be nice. You know, we were going to roll out our new swag, our new hoodies. The Def Method hoodies are legendary. I was kind of two minds about it. It seems really strange to give people a hoodie in 120 degree heat. But then again, if you never leave the hotel, it's probably going to be cold. But either way, we didn't get them off in time, so sorry.
They have those new like cut-off sun hoodies. I don't know if you've seen
that's
those.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. You know what? That's
I
a good
see
idea.
golfers wear those a lot.
Yeah. I'm going to think about that. We can get a couple of new options. Anyway, we've got somebody here with us. Why don't we introduce to everybody Ernesto Tagwerker. Ernesto, say hello.
Yeah, hey everybody. So great to be here. I've been a listener and happy to join Joe and V for the first episode.
That's right. So we have had a representative of OmbuLabs on before, and we went really, really deep into the weeds into AI, which was cool because, especially at the time, a lot of people, and I guess even still today, a lot of people say, hey, yeah, we do AI, which basically means we use an API to get Claude or ChatGPT to do things for us, which is not really the same thing as being like an ML engineer or working with AI at a deeper level. But OmbuLabs definitely does. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
So yeah, Amanda is our head of AI. She was in a previous episode, and I'm sure you guys talked about machine learning, Gen AI, LLMs, RAG, all that stuff. And at OmbuLabs, what we do is basically custom AI solutions like predictive machine learning model, Gen AI solutions, and the other side of our business is also like AI strategy for small businesses. Ton of businesses here in Philadelphia are reaching out because FOMO, basically they know they need to use AI to make their processes more efficient, but they don't want to go about it just winging it. So usually like safety and compliance are top of mind for some of our clients. So they engage with us so we can guide them into what tools and what set of tools are best for them. And on the Ruby side, we also run a productized service called FastRuby.io. And on that one, we also are using AI and open sourcing some AI tooling to help companies make upgrades faster and get all the way from Rails 2.3 to 8.1 if they wanted to.
So the open source contributions are awesome. And I've heard you speak in the past about NextRails, which is a really cool dual boot gem so that you can sort of understand what's going to break when you upgrade. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us a little bit about some of the sort of next generation AI tools that you've been building.
Yeah, sure. So NextRails is, like you said, a really cool tool that you can use to dual boot any bundler-based Ruby application. So it works for Rails, but it can also work for Sinatra or Sidekick. And we like to use it to basically test one version and another version very quickly by just flipping on and off like an environment variable. And it works very well from like development to test to production, even if you want to do like gradual deployments and you don't want to do like one big bang deployment for Rails 5.2 or something like that. Then on top of that, we started using Claude a lot recently. We actually kind of went in on Claude about 3 months ago, and we said, okay, we need to build the tooling on top of Claude to use NextRails. And it all came out basically as a rant that I had where if you ask Claude to upgrade Rails from X to Y, it will make a case against dual booting. And I get it. You know, if you have like a monolith that's been around for more than 15 years, you have a ton of lines of code. Yes, there are going to be like many if-else statements that say if current Rails do this, if next Rails do this other thing. So Claude was like, no, I don't want to add this thing because it'll be like too many conditionals. From experience, I know that I want the conditionals because it will make it easier when things get tough. So that's how 3 different sets of skills came to be. It's basically get Claude to dual boot, get Claude to use the test suite as much as possible. And then at the end of the upgrade, flip the Rails defaults to use the last one, the most current ones. So that's a little bit about like the AI tooling we've been using. And then another part is like we built an automated AI assisted roadmap for anybody who wants to generate a roadmap from Rails 2.3 to 8.1. But that one hasn't gotten a ton of usage, so we're thinking about what to do with that next. For now, I think our focus is on better tooling for Claude or Copilot. So yeah, that's a little bit about what we've been doing lately.
So it's interesting, and we were talking about this just before we started the show. First, this resistance comes from somewhere, presumably a bunch of Stack Overflow discussions about adding conditionals, right? Because the LLM didn't come up with its own ideas about adding conditionals. But it sounds like there's some element of, you have to lower the resistance and make sure it says, hey, actually, this is a good idea, right? And so is that just added context, or is it done through repetition? How does that work?
Yeah, I think we've only seen it work without conditionals with really small Rails applications. So our own experience is based on really big engineering organizations that need to upgrade Rails. Power Home Remodeling was one of our clients in the past, and they have a huge ERP that has a big team behind it. So upgrading their Rails application wasn't a trivial thing. And most of our clients have those sort of applications that are really big. So I find like when you use AI, like the best thing is to combine it with some human experience, to be honest. So you don't want AI to make those decisions for you. Like you said, it's basically like taking the averages from Stack Overflow, Reddit, open source projects. So I see it as a way to encode our experience and our process into a skill that's like readable and easy for Claude or other Gen AI tools to interpret. And there's like no gray areas. You dual boot, and if you don't want to dual boot, that's cool. Just don't use the skill.
Yeah, I remember first seeing dual booting one of the Rails comps. I think maybe it was Shopify Folk. I don't really know. What was it, the bootloader gem or something like that? And it made so much sense, right? Yeah, boot. It's the best way to just, like as you're going and making updates to your app, you just, in the background, run your whole test suite against the dual-booted Rails app, and then you can like catch bugs that may be in the latest versions. It made a lot of sense. And so I get why you're like focusing on that to upgrade Rails, because it's like the easiest way to just see, am I prepared to upgrade, right? Which I think is like probably one of the biggest things when you're upgrading any app is like, is this going to cause any problems when I try and upgrade it? Or am I just going to have this like massive PR at the end that's going to like then be broken? I'm curious, like, did you take that approach to like do incremental upgrades with this NextRails? How does that aspect of things work within Claude?
We see it also as a way to detect backwards compatible changes as well. You need a conditional if it's not backwards compatible. But another thing that's cool about Claude is that you can write code that's basically like monkey patches or little Rails shims that are like, okay, this is not going to pollute the entire code base in, the whole thing like, oh, this every model that no longer extends like active record base. Now it extends like application record or whatever. Or like the Rails migrations now take brackets or something like that. Now for those things, instead of like doing like if else's in like 170 files, you can just basically write a little Rails shim that kind of plugs into the libraries directory. And back in the day without Claude, I think that was like a little bit too complicated to do. So maybe we would default to like if else statements. But now with Claude, it is quite good at generating those shims. And I know it's like not great, and I would definitely not advise people to start monkey patching everything. I'm just saying like for this particular case of upgrading Rails, it's a really good fit.
Yeah, I remember replacing active record base many, many times by hand, right? And so that's not fun. I'm curious, either with the shims or with conditional logic, are you tearing those down at the end of the upgrade, or are you keeping some of them in? Or is it not all or nothing?
No, at the end of it, you get rid of them. And usually like the best practice for a shim like that is to actually use like, if Rails version is current, do this, otherwise do this other thing. So even if you flip the switch set the environment variable in production to use like the latest Rails version, that shim should have logic in it to not run in the wrong Rails version. So that's usually how we do it, very defensively.
Yeah, because you're putting these things in. How do you know what to clean up when it's over? Presumably you're not going to do it immediately. You want to make sure that everything's running and have it in production maybe, I don't know, a week, a month, and then you're like, okay, good, we've made it. So how do you know what you're going to rip out?
That's actually one of the learnings we had as soon as we started using the Claude skill in like client applications. Juan, one of my teammates, suggested cleanup job. So now I don't know if it's like a specific skill we have, but it might be like one workflow we have within the skills to clean up all these Rails upgrade related code out of the code base. So we are using Claude for the cleanup as well. And I don't know about you, Joe, but we are seeing really good speed ups on upgrades up to the point where, now it is a reasonable case to say, oh, we could have one human and one agent or one Claude basically working on an upgrade and get comparable results to maybe two humans working on an upgrade. I'd love to know what your experience has been using AI for upgrades, because you also run a consultancy.
We do. So we don't offer this as a service, but we upgrade Rails for clients we're working on. And yeah, the results, it's both faster and it feels more sturdy. So our engineers are moving with more confidence. Presumably that's because, or not presumably, I've talked to them. It's because they do have Claude or they have any of the other AI tools doing the majority of the work. So they spend much more of their brain power ensuring that what is happening is logical rather than typing everything out and spending time doing that. And so even if they're spending more wall clock time analyzing the results, what comes out is, yeah, it's happening faster and it's happening with more confidence. The biggest thing I've seen, Ernesto, and I maybe you see this too, this year it's been pronounced. Last year it was not like this as much. All my engineers are beating their estimates every time, which is a thing, I've been leading teams for like 2 decades, and that's not a thing that has ever happened. We just famously underestimate all the work that it takes. And now we're actually beating our estimates on a consistent basis, which has been really an interesting shift. I don't think that'll last because pretty soon we're going to get overconfident and then we'll start underestimating again. But for this year, at least, it's been this interesting thing where it's like, well, I think it's probably going to take 3 months. And it's just from lived experience. It's like, yeah, I know this thing will go fast, but not that fast, and it's not going to be that good, and we're going to have to go back and clean this stuff up. And that's true to an extent, but it's also true that we're overshooting it a little bit.
I think I've seen that as well on the upgrade side. Then on the custom AI solution side, I haven't seen that so much, and I think like it's just us being like overly optimistic that we can deliver like a non-deterministic solution to this client in this amount of time, and then there's always like things that come up. And part of it is like managing expectations, right? Like people who are getting custom AI solutions expect a deterministic solution. And sometimes there is like the part of non-determinism that is like, hey, for this particular use case, we wanted to use an LLM and it's going to generate content. And sometimes there's going to be something that's off, and it can't be 100%, but it can be close to that.
It can be close, yeah. I have this experience with my assistant who's using Claude Cowork every day. And we have this process internally. I have this sales engine that we built. And so she has a part in it, which is like she's using Claude Cowork to basically search through LinkedIn and look for these people and add them to this particular list. And it keeps getting it like 90% right. And it's like there's other parts where it doesn't fall over. It just puts like LinkedIn URLs that are non-existent. And she keeps saying, like, I keep coming back to her and be like, hey, it's better. Because I'm like, hey, this is really good. Like 90% is correct, 10% isn't. And she keeps being like, well, why is it doing this? Yeah, this is kind of a learning experience. It's not anything you're doing. This is just non-deterministic software. It's going to do it right a lot, and it's going to mess up sometimes, and that's where we come in. Sorry,
the edge cases are really funny.
I know.
It doesn't matter the task. It's always
no, it is. I look at it. I'm like, this is just like LinkedIn/in/John. That's not a real thing.
I'm curious. I automate all my Rails upgrades at this point because they're all just personal projects. In the background, I'll just be like, hey, go upgrade Rails. And then I realize, oh, things are broken, and I fix them because they're just for myself. But like, if you had to draw a boundary, what should the AI upgrading agent be allowed to automatically do versus like where does the human take the wheel? I'm curious like where you're seeing kind of like the things fall apart versus like what's for sure, yeah, I trust this thing is gonna just do this specific thing.
Basically, the deprecation warnings, I would say those can be like on autopilot. Rails, especially if you're using like modern versions of Rails, like the deprecation warnings are way more complete and present, and there are not that many things that are undocumented. So addressing a deprecation warning, I would just say like, yeah, go and do it, and maybe submit like a pull request per deprecation warning if you want to review it and have a human in the loop there. For anything that's front end, I would want a human to review it and to QA it thoroughly before it ships to production. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have noticed that Claude, Copilot, and all those things, they're great. But then at some point they're like, okay, this is done. And then you look at it and it's like, oh, this looks terrible on the screen. And the robot might be like, no, this looks fine. It's fine. So for anything that's like client facing, maybe like in the UI, I would want to have a human in there. But yeah, I would make those big distinctions on that front.
One thing that I find routinely that AI thinks is fine, this is Ruby specific, it might be like this in other languages, but a couple of things that it routinely thinks is fine that is not fine. Really long classes in Ruby, it kind of doesn't seem to sense, no matter how many different ways I prompt it, that you don't want to add another method here. There's already enough methods. And it does not seem to really do much object orientation or object individuation beyond what the framework itself gives you. Right? So unless I tell it we're going MVP or we're going with a separate service library or we're going with, it doesn't tend to do it. I don't know if that's matched your experience.
One area where I wish it added more value, and I'm sure Joe has like a lot of insights on this, is the writing tests or increasing tests before an upgrade. I know you worked on Phoenix def method, and I don't know, I just would love to see a tool or a set of like skills that basically feeds off like data from production and it writes test suite that are based on like reality, which is production usage. And of course, like for V, that is easy for like a side project or a fun project because you can just give it access to production and it's fine. For client projects that are in like in regulated fields, which are many of our clients, we would have to have some sort of like layer to make sure like any sort of like PII or sensitive information never makes it to the Gen AI engine. But I can see like a future where it's like, okay, you have a robot that is slowly and gradually increasing code coverage for some of these actions in production that are getting called over and over again and have like very little code coverage. But I'd love to live in that future where it's like, oh, I have an agent that's submitting pull requests, and the pull requests are not based on some hallucination or just increasing code coverage for this class. They're actually based on real usage. Could be like APM data too, to say like, oh, these actions are called all the time and you don't have tests for it. So I'm going to submit a pull request to add a test for that.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we learned in building Phoenix was that the differences between application test suites are vast, even on code bases with seemingly very similar characteristics. I love the idea of sort of a sanitizer layer that pulls production data, sanitizes it, and then sends it to an LLM to build tests. I don't think, frankly, we're at the place where that can be SaaSified, right? Where it could be like, oh, okay, let's build a one-size-fits-most solution here. But I do think it could be a great service that's offered by companies like yours, Ernesto. So go ahead and do that for us.
Okay. I'll think about it. The problem with AI these days is that all of my side projects are doable. And of course, it's like combined with my wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I know. I just wish I worked for one of these companies and had unlimited tokens, and then I would just like do them all at once. But I have budgeting concerns. What you're talking about, it sounds like in this Rails Next project too, it reminds me a lot of the GitHub Scientist gem. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it was like a way to test critical code paths to like basically try to execute code in two different blocks and then, measure the outputs to make sure that they were exactly the same, or the outcomes. It's not exactly like 100%, because how do you measure side effects or database transactions and things like that? But what do you think about that style of like reinforcement learning-ish processes, right? Where we have these two paths that we want like an app to take, and we just want to make sure that they do the same thing eventually. And it seems like that's kind of the path you're taking with NextRails. Is there a reasonable next step to that, where the agent can do a step function to automatically handle all of that, or do you not see that future?
I like the idea of keeping libraries small and like very focused on certain things. And like you said, there's like the Ruby Scientist gem. I haven't really used it, but yeah, it is really cool if you want to test like, oh, maybe this particular query could be more performant if I structure this active record query like in a different way. But for NextRails, I think that's the scope that it has is okay, and it solves the problem really well. And I think where it adds the most value is with gradual deployments, where you can basically set it up to, basically if you have like Kubernetes infrastructure, you can have like 10% of the pods run on the next version of Rails, and then the rest of the traffic use what you've been using so far. And that way you can keep track of like the error rates in your exception tracking service. And if there's like an elevated number of errors or new errors happening, it's like, that 10% of the traffic is likely causing those. But yeah, for experimenting, I think probably like the Ruby Scientist gem is still like the best thing to do.
I was kind of like setting you up a little bit. My real question is, how do you stop getting too excited about the thing that you're making, right? Where all of a sudden you have like a million features that you could potentially do and realistically do if you threw enough tokens at it. How do you like personally like pare that back and keep things well scoped? You're mentioning you kept it very well defined, so it did this very specific thing that is helping you. Where are you value shaping the excitement and paring it back to keep things focused for what you're doing?
Again, with AI, you have no boundaries anymore. And I'm the owner of FastRuby and Ombu, so I don't have anybody saying like, oh no, you can only use these amount of tokens, so I should probably have that. Maybe Amanda should do that for me. But yeah, I think the problem that we have on our end is that we've been doing engineering as marketing for so long that we have so many tools now. We maintain Ruby Critic. We have this idea to basically have a backend server to basically send your Ruby Critic reports to. I haven't done it yet, but I might have like Claude do it for me and basically offer it for free for like open source projects. We also have railsbump.org that we inherited from Manuel, software engineer from Germany, that basically tests compatibility between like so many Rails versions and so many Ruby gems. It's basically kind of like rubygems.org, but it adds compatibility with different versions of Rails, and it has like different check techniques. And we have like the automated roadmap that generates an action plan. We have the Claude skill. And my problem right now is that they're not talking to each other. So one of our goals for this quarter is to basically get Claude to talk to RailsBump, get the automated roadmap to talk to RailsBump. NextRails itself has a way to calculate compatibility, but I don't trust it as much as railsbump.org. So should we even have that in the NextRails gem? I don't know. Those are the questions I have right now. It's like we have so much code right now to figure out compatibility and the upgrade path and integration with AI tools that I'm having a really hard time like integrating it all to not do the same thing in 3 different places.
I've been reading about some people experiencing this. Are you getting a ton of new pull requests that are almost entirely AI generated?
Yeah.
Is that helpful or is it annoying?
I have actually seen them, and I have found them quite helpful most of the time. There's like 1 out of 10 that it's kind of like a hallucination, and it's like, please don't do that. go away or review your work. But no, one thing that we have been seeing on the consulting space, and I don't know if you're seeing this, but it's basically this AI-generated scams that reach out to build some sort of tool for you. And then it's like an elaborate scheme to, I don't know, get you to leak data to them. I don't follow them. We kind of have like an ear or an eye for that. And it's like, okay, this project description looks like way too good for to be like a real project description. So I'm like, this is probably a robot, some sort of scam. Do you get those too?
I have, and I've read about them too, and they're proliferating all over GitHub. There was some report on Hacker News, which Hacker News is where you go to find all the people complaining about the AI pull requests. So it's nice to hear you say, actually, they're nice. They're usually helpful. But yeah, I read some report. I'm going to forget the percentage, but some significant percentage of open source GitHub libraries right now are scams that are trying to steal your data. So be careful out there, folks.
They're getting pretty progressive. I saw one lately in the Ruby AI Discord. Somebody posted a screenshot of them receiving money for this free deal for having signed up for some crypto thing. And they're like, oh, look, I just got $1,500 transferred to my bank account. And so I was just having fun, and I went through and like tried to sign up for the process. And you get the final stage, it's like, okay, it's like some weird virtual casino in Curacao. I don't know how you pronounce that. But like, in order to get your account verified, you have to pay $200 so that you can verify your bank is like legit and who you are. That's how they like framed it. And I'm just like, man, what a great scam and elaborate, right? Like, because there was more than one person posting this, like, oh yeah, me too, like I got this thing, right? Like, and I was just like, wow, like it's really getting elaborate. Like they had clearly like just an AI set up website that had the sign up flow, and it even had like an AI
with AI
like customer
Discord
service
people, right?
Yeah. Well, they had like a customer service agent set up, right, where it was a chat bot. So I had problems like setting up my account, like what is
oh yeah, that's good.
And so it like made it seem more and more legit, and I'm just like, wow, like somebody really spent a lot of time on this thing.
Now I think a really smart thing to do, not that I am a purveyor of any of these scams, but you would actually want it to work for a few prominent people. Right? Like, oh no, I actually did get $1,500, right? That it worked for like 3 people that you know, and then it just scams the other 1,000 people that try it.
Well, that's that whole Facebook thing where they're like, it has a special thing where you enter your password and it automatically replaces it with asterisks, right?
Oh
like,
yeah, right.
A whole bunch of people comment, oh yeah, me too, look, and it like just asterisks.
Yeah, you got to be careful out there. So many scams, and I don't know if you guys have seen the video of like the video, even like in video calls where the person is like, okay, now I need you to put your fingers in front of your face, and it's like, oh, like this, and they put the fingers like not up there. Yeah, you can't even trust video these days, or video calls.
Definitely not. You shouldn't even trust this video call. You definitely shouldn't trust this podcast.
I've also heard that of interviews where companies hiring now get a lot of people interviewing virtually that are not people or are not who they say they are.
That's freaky. And that actually leads me to my next question, Ernesto, which is, you had mentioned Amanda, who we've seen on the show, we think, and I think in reality also. So I guess we're going to rule her out. She's a real person. You mentioned Juan. Is that an actual human being?
Yes.
Are you
Every picture we have on our website is a real human. I have actually met all humans in my team except one, Francois in South Africa, but I also believe he's a human and
well, you believe
not a cat.
So Francois is still maybe though, and you've got, at least according to you, some actual humans. Okay.
It is getting harder and harder to filter and to do security checks on people that you hire remotely. So yeah, I think that's one of the struggles we have. But yeah, one of the things we recently launched, and this came out of like conversations I had with clients, is we launched staff augmentation services. Because my conversation with clients would be like, oh, do you guys do like feature work? And I'm like, yeah, we do more than Rails and Ruby upgrades. We would be happy to work on your product roadmap. And I had that conversation so many times that I was like, okay, maybe it's not clear in our branding that FastRuby can also do product development. So for many years, we focused on Ruby and Rails upgrades, but now that AI-generated code is like more and more present, we also see like a ton of pull requests. So it does feel like the workload is basically shifting towards like code review and QA and rework. So this is like our idea to say, okay, you need a human in the loop to basically help your team either with code reviews or product development. And you need them to be real humans that you can point to when they mess up. They're humans. They've been working with us for years. So now you can hire them to do product development for you or assist with code reviews or anything you need a human for.
It's good to know. Of course, being a consultancy owner myself, I mean, I look at it and I'm immediately like, okay, yeah, that's a leader into the organization, and then you could do product development and things like that. But others may not see it that way, and so it's good to make it obvious and apparent, because obviously the team that can provide a steady pair of hands and upgrade your Rails application is likely going to be the team that you want to steward some of your product roadmap. And it reminds me, because I saw this post from you a few weeks ago, that your ideal client has a stable test suite, knows where tech debt lives, wants slow and steady progress. Where do you find these companies? Because I've been running consultancy for 12 years, and I don't know if I've stumbled into a couple, but it doesn't tend to be the work that we get.
Yeah, I think the test suite is the main one, right? I think a lot of companies, especially startups or companies that started as startups and they just needed to move fast, they never stopped to write the test suite or to keep it up to date or even to upgrade Rails and Ruby. So that's why they end up reaching out to us. The good thing is, like, when we work on our Ruby on Rails upgrade, we kind of get a taste of what it is working with this client. And like everything, they're good clients, great clients, and bad clients. So it is a funny fact, like in the past year or so, we've had way more repeat customers than new customers, which is a new thing for us. Last year and maybe like 2 years ago, it was more like, okay, new projects, new clients, new upgrade work. But now it's with AI shifting things and with people using AI for upgrades more, I feel like only the people that value the human touch of working with us are coming back and saying like, oh, I actually had a good experience working with FastRuby, so I'm going to reach out and work with them again. But yeah, it is hard. So that's why I think we invest so much in like technical debt and code quality tooling, like Ruby Critic, Skunk, Rails Stats, NextRails, Rails Bump. All these tools are available usually for free or free as an open source. So anybody who has played with these tools and cares a little bit about code quality has probably heard or used some of our open source libraries. That's usually like a good vector to find good clients. And sometimes it's hard to find good clients, but you do end up finding like good engineers within like a poor culture or poor engineering culture. So then you basically have to talk to them as a system to try to get like upper management and non-technical decision makers to say, oh, okay, it does pay off to have like good quality guidelines so that not just humans, but AI are writing code that's going to be like easier to maintain in the long term.
I can understand your point. I also would say that we've had really good clients that don't have stable test suites, right? That's not really what we're after. They may be, like you said, maybe, sometimes teams inherit code that's crazy, and sometimes teams move really fast in search of what they're after. I had an engineer a long time. He was a great engineer, and anytime we would talk to people, because a lot of times teams, they can get a little self-conscious about, because they kind of know where the bodies are buried, and they're like, oh, I wish it wasn't like this, right? And he always would say, you know what, the greatest marker of your success is that you're here talking to us, right? Because you did what you needed to do to build a successful product that's successful enough to pay the people that are working on it, to pay other people, drive a business, to pay us to come in. And so we always want to be really respectful of that. Anyway, but I'll get off my soapbox. That's an interesting way of kind of framing it. When you're looking at these engagements, are you doing like a set, like, okay, we're going from Rails 5 to Rails 8.1, so we'll just quote you a price, or are you kind of going time and materials based?
Yeah, we usually quote a price. We like to do like ballpark estimates, like worst case, best case scenario between X and Y months to get you there. And of course, the more information we have, the better the estimate. So sometimes when we're having like an initial sales call, we will ask our customers or potential customers to send over stats And stats are basically like, yeah, what's your code coverage percentage as reported by SimpleCov? What are your Rails stats as reported by our gem? Our gem kind of integrates with bundler stats that basically gives you an idea of like the dependencies they have and how hard it's going to be to upgrade. And we have like historical database with more than 60,000 dev hours invested over the past 8 years on upgrades all the way from 2.3 to 8.1. So we kind of use comparable data to give our potential customers ballpark estimates, and then they make a decision there, or sometimes they get a roadmap that's basically like a $12,000 audit where we invest about 2 weeks in their code base, learning more about it and seeing kind of like where the bodies are buried and stuff like that. And also, like, to complement the other question or the other answer I gave about like how to find like the best customers, like I'm still trying to figure it out. I just want to make it clear I don't have a solution for that. I post to LinkedIn to try to find them for sure, but in the sales process I can quickly tell when some clients are not going to be great clients, and it's usually like the people that care way too much about the money and the budget and the hourly rate, and they just want to get like 3 or 4 bids from Def Method, FastRuby, Test Double, and they're like, okay, cool, we have the numbers. Oh, okay, let's go with this one.
Well, if they care about the money, they're picking the wrong 3. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't really care about the craft, and you can tell in the conversation they just want the number. So I still send the number, but I also like can write down in our CRM, it's like, okay, this is like a 10% likely to convert lead.
Yeah, I'm curious if you like have found a metrics template to translate to business owners. Okay, if you apply this, you will see this stability, which has this kind of customer impact or outcome, right? Do you have anything that you've like been ruminating about, like where you can like help them calculate numbers as like, okay, if you invest this in this, you'll see this kind of outcome?
I mean, it sounds like a really cool side project that V should work on. And I would be happy to give you tokens for you to just go wild.
Okay, all right. Hey, I'll take you up on that.
That sounds amazing. And no, I don't have it, and I should have. But yeah, some clients are still trying to understand why a test suite or an automated test suite is a good idea.
I think about this too, even just for AI spend. Okay, if you as a business owner, you spend, I don't know, $50,000 in a month for AI tokens, what is that outcome? Like, I'm sure like you'd have a bunch of artifacts. It's got to be more than the artifacts, right? Like, what is it generating for you as a business? I don't know that there is that, right? Like,
I think the answer for every business owner is not enough.
Right, not enough.
That's mostly what I hear.
I mean, maybe if they get rid of an employee, like they save some money on that. I don't know how much.
That's actually, I think, like it or not, I'm having conversations with clients, and I spoke with somebody just last week about this where, you know, he's high up, he's at executive level. The company got a huge investment from a PE firm, and the question very quickly became, okay, how many roles are we eliminating with all the AI that we're putting in here? I do think that that's the wrong question to be asking, but it's not up to me, right? I think the question to be asking is, what more can we do? And I think that's what you're getting at too, Valentino. Like, hey, what's that return on investment so that we can do more, rather than, hey, where can we cut corners and save?
I see this all the time. I was in consultancy for a long time, and like it's always like, okay, it's very layered. Yeah, you can go and you can like upgrade a Rails app, but then like that's not really necessarily addressing any of the tech debt that's there, right? It's just like one aspect of the tech debt, right? And so like tech debt is like a very layered problem. You have to balance that as a consultant for your clients. Okay, how much tech debt is worth addressing, upgrades included, versus like, okay, we have new features and we have bugs and things like this that you're helping them realize and balance. Because I imagine you want more of that stipend, right, to help them see more value out of you as a consultancy, right? And so I wonder, like Ernesto and Joe, right, like as these kind of consultancies, where do you see that layering fit best? Is an upgrade an easy entry point to just like helping address the management of those concerns? Where is AI like providing the most leverage outside of just automating some of these low-hanging fruit?
What I like about the Rails or Ruby upgrade work is that the finish line is very clear. It's in production and it's running the target Ruby and Rails versions we talked about. And we delivered it on time and on budget. I love that. The problem I see these days is that people, especially like non-technical folks, are looking at the hourly rate way too much. In this day and age of AI, the hourly rate doesn't really mean much. It's like the same of using lines of code to measure developer productivity. It's a waste of time to say, like, we generated all these lines of code with all these tokens and all these people. It doesn't really say anything about value. So, like, time and material, soon a lot of these folks are going to have to learn that the hourly rate is like a terrible way to make a decision, because you could get like 20 hours of def method and their hourly rate, or you could get 40 hours from some other shop that's like way less expensive per hour. But at the end of the day, you care about value and you care about keeping the engineers and making sure that they're delivering value. So it is very hard these days to say, oh yeah, it is this much per hour and you get X amount of value. So I wish there was actually like an industry standard for value per hour in the consultancy space, but
great
we
idea,
don't have it.
Great solution to this problem. Ready? We're going to solve it all right now. Just everything is tokens.
Everything is
right?
tokens.
So like
yeah.
OmbuLabs tokens, which represent the hours that are put in, right, are more expensive than OpenAI's because you can do things that it can't. If everything's a token, people stop looking at hours, and it's just like, okay, as you're operating LLMs, you're paying for intelligence levels, right? Some intelligence is more than others. Your consultancy's employees are specific tokens of intelligence that are going to outperform any AI agent that they can get, any LLM. I wonder if that's maybe the answer, is just like, okay, let's bucket humans in the same AI worker category and just say, all right, you're going to get the OmbuLabs model, and like, these are our tokens, token rates.
Depending on who it is, I mean, I'm just thinking about getting that argument past a CFO, but maybe just thinking about people in units, that might be the way to go.
Yeah, well, I think there is a point for like a new metric that's tokens is a part of it. But for me, it's like experience times tokens, or experience combined with tokens. Let's say X tokens is like the value you get from these engineers. And then, I don't know, maybe that is the metric we need to get to.
Yeah, because you think if you're hiring a law firm, right, like the senior executive lawyers are going to have like some astronomical hourly rate compared to like some junior. And like, if you're hiring them and have them on some kind of retainer, you're going to say, hey, like, give them more hours. Sure, it might take longer and they might do worse work, but like, I just don't want to spend that much. And so I don't know if you can apply the same thing and still uphold the quality of work that outputs, right? But I wonder if there's something there where you could just say, okay, this level of person on our team is going to be like an extra bump in the allotment of units.
But yeah, I also agree with Joe that getting the CFO to buy into this whole idea is going to be the hardest part.
Valentino brought this up before the show, and we've got a few minutes, and I'd love to just get your take on it, Ernesto, which is why, now that we have AI and it can do any language, it can work on any framework, why stick with Ruby? Why recommend it? Why even upgrade it? Why not just say, well, you're all the way behind at version 5. Just blow it up. Just start over with a Python application or something like that. All the AIs love Python, so why not just use that?
We still choose Ruby for a lot of our custom AI projects. We might not use 100% Ruby for that particular solution. It might be like a combination of Ruby and Python. But at the end of the day, I think Ruby is still more readable than Python and is still focused on developer happiness. And we're not quite there where it's like we are just going to let the agents run everything in production and fix bugs and yada yada. I know V might be close to that, but a lot of companies out there that still need a human in the loop that's basically approving the changes. So if that human has experience with Ruby and can go in and like figure out like what the AI is trying to do. And many times the AI is trying to do something that's like way too complicated for something that doesn't need to be that way. I still want humans that know Ruby and can go in and like debug and like sort out what's the problem. And basically driving Gen AI tools to write better Ruby and more sustainable Ruby. I know you guys were talking about like Ruby Central in a past episode, and I like the way it's going now with Ruby Central, and I know like they have an idea to be more present in the AI world, and as a company we want to somehow support that. I don't know how, but at some point we want to collaborate and like contribute to the community so that we can make Ruby more AI friendly. And if anybody has ideas on how we can do that, we're always happy to entertain them. They can reach us like on Blue Sky, LinkedIn, but for now, I like the initiatives that are happening at Ruby Central, and I am hoping they can make Ruby like a better citizen in this AI world.
I'm not sure I agree with you on the Ruby Central side, but we're a supporter, and I definitely want to see Ruby Central succeed. To me, it seems like they're trying to spread out in too many directions, and what they really are is a very small group of unpaid volunteers. And I think there's an engineer's inclination, like I was talking about before, to overestimate what any group of us can do. And unfortunately, I think that's what's happening here. I also think that the AI thing, I'm actually going to reserve judgment on that because I do think it's interesting, and I'll be there at RubyConf to talk about any of these initiatives. I think that's what they're using, right? They're using the conference to gather some like-minded folks and talk about it. So I'll be interested to hear what they have to say on it. But to me, I want them to keep putting on a good conference. To me, that's the most important thing. I think the second most important thing is maybe supporting conferences that are regional, which they've done for a very long time. And to me, we build software that is great at one thing. And if they were great at that one thing, and they have been, right? If they continue to be great at that one thing, I'm happy. All the other stuff I think is gravy.
I see it as a marketing problem with Ruby and AI. It's the Coca-Cola method. You see everybody drinking a Coke and you want one. And I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing with Python and TypeScript is that's what's used. They see other people using it. You're starting up a project and like the AIs are using that. And I would love to see some of these organizations like Ruby Central like focus on that, start trying to solve that particular problem. Like Joe mentions, like conferences, that's one aspect, right, of many. And I think the whole Rails world thing that Amanda has been focusing on, fantastic. Getting Rails out there and advertised worldwide, an aspect that has like, I think, seen positive results from people. And I think the more that we could get that, the easier it's going to be to solve like the tooling layer, which I think is more like Ruby core team. Dump money into that. They're really solving those problems, I would hope. Like I know Mats has talked about this before at the Ruby Kaigi conferences. The Ruby core team is going to focus on, okay, how can we make Ruby AI friendly and AI supporting tools? And I don't know. That's my take.
I agree with that. I also understand like Ruby Central messed up with Ruby Gems and Bundler and all that. And I think they're trying to like reform the organization and like basically take it in the right direction. But yeah, now it's like still like too soon to tell whether it is the right direction or not.
When I hear about supporting AI in open source, I think about, like our friend Karma and, friend of the show, Ruby LLM. I think about things like NextRails, right? Like tools that are either AI enabled or AI focused that work really well with Ruby. Is that the kind of thing that you're talking about, that you'd like to see support for those kinds of things?
Yeah, I guess I'm torn, right? Like, because we have like this dichotomy of like Ruby tooling and ecosystem infrastructure that has historically been like Ruby Central focused. Okay, and conferences on top. And like what we're seeing over time is like conferences are like a big commitment, right? And they end up eating up a lot of resources. Should those two layers coexist, I feel like that's where a lot of the friction happens. And so I'm wondering, like, Ruby and AI as like a concept together is really a marketing problem, right? And seems better suited for that layer of conferencing and marketing. And like I was saying, the Coca-Cola method of you see everybody drinking a Coca-Cola and you want to drink one is the mentality of like where programming languages fit in the AI landscape. as far as what people reach for, what the AI reaches for, those are all those marketing problems that have different solutions, right? Different paths, different people that would be better at solving those. So I wonder if it's a disconnect of that more than
That's
anything.
an interesting perspective.
I don't know. I'm excited for conferences. So like I always get great takeaways, meet great people. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this particular conference. I would love to, but I did make the last Ruby or RailsConf, which was fantastic in Philadelphia, and it was it's just great to connect with people and like see what they're working on, and like I feel like you come away and build something new because of that, right?
You almost took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, for me, it energizes me in a totally different way. And I go to the local meetups for the same reason, right? They'll give me like a little charge every month, and I go to a big regional or big national conference, and I get a kind of a bigger charge. And it sets me up for months after that. And I'm looking forward to this one for the same reason. And I bought a ticket to Rails World for the same reason. I haven't been to Rails World, and lo and behold, there's no more RailsConf, so Rails World is here in the US this year, and I think that's great.
I'll be at Rails World too, and it's going to be my first one as well. Couldn't swing going to both of them, so I had to pick between RubyConf and Rails World, and I've never been to Austin, Texas, so I think that was one of my main reasons to go. But yeah, I love to see if people want to talk about Ruby and AI at Rails World. I'd be happy to talk about that.
Just a plug for these conferences, and I know, I think Ruby Central is not sold out yet, so you can still get tickets, and I think we're publishing this before the conference. And I don't want to toot our own horns too much here, but the three people on this podcast are three very successful Rubyists that have been around for a long time, and part of it is I see you guys at every conference. Ernesto, you've run Philly RB for, I don't know, it feels like 100 years, and yet you live out there in New Jersey, you still come over here for Artificial Ruby. Valentino, you and I met at Artificial Ruby. You're a speaker at conferences, you both are. You go to conferences all the time, you support the community, but you do it because you get something out of it. And that something it's not always easy to pin down, but it's easy to see in retrospect that it really has a large positive impact on our careers.
I actually prefer to hang out in the hallway track. I can catch the talks later, I can watch them online, but I get the most energized when I talk to other people and I hear what they're doing in Ruby and Rails land.
Yeah, except when we're speaking. I know you come to those.
Oh, of course, yeah. I never miss your talks.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, because, these days I do a lot less coding, and so can I go to the talk and learn about the next gem or about the next thing? I could, and it's always interesting to me, but I love talking to people in between. I love seeing people I haven't seen in a year. It's great. So we're coming up on time here. It was really great to have you on the show, Ernesto. Great to learn, about the evolution of FastRuby and about OmbuLabs as well. Anything you want to plug or say before we sign off?
Yeah, I think it would be great if anybody wanted to give our Claude skill a try, especially if you're running like a really old Rails version. We'd love to know if it worked for you. If it didn't, we don't have any sort of like telemetry code in there. So the only way I have to know whether people are using it, if people are starring it on GitHub or telling me like at meetups, like you said. But yeah, I'd love people to give it a try, open issues if they find any, and hopefully it'll make their next upgrade project easier.
And thanks also for the great work you're doing with open source. I mentioned NextRails, but you mentioned Ruby Critic a couple of times, and I just want to give a +1 for that. That has been a fantastic gem for years and years, and we're really happy that you steward it. We still use it, to this day. It's a really excellent way of just getting to understand your code base and what you need to do to improve.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool evolution to metric foo. I remember the first Goruko I ever went to, I sat next to someone and they were talking about metric foo, and I was like, oh, that is so cool.
In the basement at Delphi?
I think it was a Pace University.
Oh, Pace, you're right, at Pace.
Yeah.
Pace, yeah.
And it was around the time, I think, when Rails 2.3 and 3.0 were merging, so I remember metric foo was such a cool thing, and we actually are the maintainers of metric foo, but a lot of the tools that it used are kind of dead, so we might just focus on Ruby Critic from now on. But yeah, and if anybody loves Ruby Critic or wants to give it a try, it's like a great tool to learn where the complexity of in a Rails application lives. So happy to maintain it, and thanks for your words, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yeah, a +1 to that too. I have used Ruby Critic for years as well. Fantastic.
Oh, and a small announcement. Now JRuby is officially supported by Ruby Critic. I made sure of that last week.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Charles Nutter and I have been talking consistently, and he's helped me be a better JRuby citizen. So, quick announcement there for you.
Good. That's
JRuby
great.
is fantastic. I've used that before on projects, and
Yeah, me too.
yeah, if you have a Java world organization that you're supporting,
Stop
you can
writing
use
Java.
Ruby.
There, JRuby exists. The well-grounded Rubyist, its long-awaited publication date is imminent. So maybe by the time this goes live, but probably about a week later. So check it out.
That's great. And thanks for all your work on that as well. It's one of my favorite Ruby books. So it's awesome to be.
That is a labor of love. And it was great to be able to hook up with David Black again and work with him on this. He's just brilliant, and his writing is incredible.
Yeah, I've got one small announcement. It's just kind of fun. My bot, Minerva, has created her own website, minerva.codenamev.com, to journal our progress and reinforcement learn off of that. So if you are interested in what my bot is doing for me, you can go there and find out.
Oh, awesome.
She brought it up. It brought it up. And I thought, hey, that's a great idea.
Give the lady what she wants.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on, Ernesto. This has been fantastic.
Yeah,
hopefully we
thanks,
get to meet
Ernesto.
in person and we could talk about all kinds of stuff.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Have a good one.
All right, guys. Thanks.